And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Rebecca Kastl, a skeptic that lived with angels for 2 years. Rebecca, thanks for joining me and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you, and let's start right at the beginning. How did you start contacting these angels? Or maybe how did they start contacting you?
Yeah, I wouldn't believe it if it hadn't happened to me, and it took me a really long time to accept it. So I will go just right into the story. The tiniest bit of background: I had a trauma when I was 13, and I was really traumatized, and I was working on healing from trauma. At 23, I was basically dismissed from therapy. I'd gone to a bunch of therapy and they told me I was fine. I didn't feel like I was fine. And so I started trying to feel my heart. That was my goal. I wanted to feel my heart. I wanted to feel what was underneath it because it felt like something was on top of it. And on this journey, starting at 23, to try to feel my heart and to really feel better, even though the therapist had told me I was better, I started writing my journal, Dear God. So I was doing some different healing things. I was like learning about my inner world and also writing my journal, Dear God, which I have right here, which is how my spiritual experience started. I started writing Dear God, and I would write different things about my life. I would write about things I was wondering about. And one night in 2006, when I was in graduate school at Teachers College, Columbia University, so it was not in a very, at the time, I wouldn't have called it a spiritual environment. I was in graduate school and I was writing Dear God in my journal, and I felt really overcome by a feeling, and wrote that I wanted to devote my life to God. And prior to this, I come from a very interfaith family. My dad was Jewish. My mom was Christian. I've had a bat mitzvah and I've been baptized. So like I'd already, in both of my backgrounds, kind of done this, but I kind of opened up a mystical level of experience. I wrote, Dear God, I have decided to give my life to you and whatever that entails. I want to be guided by you, by the light. This is my pledge. I will work hard to follow this path and bring it to fruition. Please help me do this. Please help me bring light to other people. Thank you. Amen. It was almost like I got almost taken over. I was just crying. I meant this. I was so just in this moment. I really wanted to know God. I wanted to know the light. And I don't know why I wrote that. It wasn't like part of my life plan that I consciously was aware of. And so that night when I went to bed, I saw light come over my bed. And I really wouldn't have believed this. I questioned myself for many years. Did I just actually lose my mind? But when the light came over my bed, it was like a beautiful light that could see right into my soul. It was just a very visceral feeling that it was seeing past my surface self. And I was very scared for this light to see me. And I tensed up and I told it over and over again to go away. I just was like, in my head, I was like, go away, I'm scared, go away. And as I told it to go away, I started to feel tingling come through my head, and it started spreading through my head. And I thought it was a headache. I was like, this is a really weird headache, but it just felt like love and peace. And I had a boyfriend at the time. He was sleeping in the bed next to me, and I looked at him. I was like, is he having this weird headache? Like, what is this headache? And then I just relaxed. And as I relaxed, I felt a voice come into my head that said, you don't have to be afraid, but if you are, you can wear a hat. And it put a graduation hat into my mind's eye, which was, I now understand it was a message that I could wear the hat of a graduate student, because I was in grad school the whole time and I was a very good student. So it was like, you can still be a grad student while you go. I didn't realize I was going to be going through all these experiences at the time, but looking back, it makes sense. But at the time I didn't get that. I was 26 and they said, you can wear this hat. And it gave me this graduation hat image. And I was like, I literally said right back to the voice in my head, that is not a cute hat. Here's some other hat options. And I remember putting like 3 other hats that were cuter into the voice. I didn't know I was having a spiritual experience. I didn't know anything about anything like this. I'd just been trying to feel my heart, and I accidentally like made a written vow to the light. So I went to bed after that, and I woke up the next morning and I was like, that was kind of weird. I don't know what that was about. And I started going to class, and I was seeing light just pouring out of everyone I passed, like beautiful ethereal light. Like everyone was the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. And I just remember walking down the street like, Oh my gosh, these people are so beautiful. Like I'm about to cry just thinking about how much light I was seeing coming out of everyone. It was incredible. And I kind of joke about it, but it was true. It really made it hard to date. I was like, eventually I was a single woman in New York and like everyone was glowing. So that was hard. It's like just seeing the beauty in everyone. And thankfully I still have that, but not, the light isn't quite as bright as it was during those 2 years. So like that night and that from that next morning, all these different things happened to me that basically were putting me into alignment with the promise I'd accidentally made in my journal. I call myself the accidental mystic. I know there's no such things as accidents, but it truly felt like nothing I was planning to do in my life. So besides seeing light coming out of everyone, I started having psychic dreams that week. And those have persisted to this day. And my mom was a psychologist, and my dad was a doctor. He's an MD with a PhD in biochemistry. So there wasn't like any talk of dreams coming true in my family at the time. There was just like um, dreams where you would analyze them about you. They're all about you. And so I started having dreams that would come true the next day or come true the next week. Or I would have a dream about a friend and then I'd talk to them and it would be something that they told me in a dream. So I was getting used to that happening to me. So most of the time my dreams are pretty boring, but some of like they're just about my friends and stuff, or like if I need to end a relationship, or what to do about my job. But I have had a dream about a car accident before I got into it. Like a week before, I had a dream about it. And then I also had a dream about getting carbon monoxide poisoning that I got and survived a few days before that happened. So those have just been a consistent part of my life ever since. And that started that week. Um, that's also when I started feeling angels. Like I was raised with a Judeo-Christian background, but there's not like this sense that you're going to, for me, feel an angel around you. But as soon as this experience opened up and started, I was feeling these loving presences next to me, just like they were guiding me. And it just felt like I was really surrounded by light. The one of the first times it was really visceral because sometimes it was just like they were there. But I remember I was going to sign up to study abroad, and all of my experience was very about my mundane life. Like I had made this promise. I was still a regular person. I was in graduate school, so it wasn't like big things that you would read about in like spiritual texts. Or I was just like I'm picking up a pen to study abroad, and I felt these two really tall angels on either shoulder, and I just felt them tell me that I shouldn't do that. I mean, I could have not listened. There's other times when I haven't always listened the best, but it was so strong. I just put the pen down and I didn't do it. I was like, oh wow, okay, I'm not supposed to do that. But I was getting used to listening to this internal guidance versus listening to the people around me. And sometimes it's hard. Anyone else on this path knows like your internal guidance is so important. And some people around you, like no one at my school understood why I had to suddenly say I wasn't going to do that. But I had such strong internal guidance from these angels, which after my experience ended, and I'll get to that in a minute, it really does seem like what I would call intuition now is like angelic or divine guidance, but it's not, you don't always sense it as that. But during these 2 years, it was like these angels are literally right next to me telling me this. But when you're not like turned on spiritually, like when my experience ended, it's like, oh, I just get an inkling or like a nudge, and the nudge is actually your angels and guides, but we don't always feel it as that. Um, a bunch of other stuff happened. So one of the big things that happened was that after my trauma, you know, I didn't have a true NDE because I didn't die, but my trauma was like a spiritual death. And I had been having these sleep paralysis nightmares since I was 13. And I wasn't raised, even though I came from an interfaith family, I was raised like really smart family. We didn't talk about things like demons or entities, but I had these nightmares that I would just call them demons. And whenever I would sleep, I would be awakened by these shadowy things circling me, and I would be in a sleep paralysis, and I would be terrified of them. And I would um, just try to wake myself up, and I would try to get away, and they wouldn't stop. And until my spiritual experience started, um, at 26. So from 13 to 26, I'd been having these like sleep paralysis nightmares. And then once I had this beautiful light experience with the creator, I was awakened in the middle of the night with one of these shadowy things circling me. And it was trying to poke my heart kind of, and trying to get into my heart. And I was awakened and I was like, sitting up outside my body. It was still like a sleep paralysis or OBE, maybe even. And I was looking at it and I was like, oh, I'm not afraid of you. I don't know why I've been afraid of you guys for so long. I just looked right at it and I felt so calm and peaceful. And I said, you can't hurt me. God lives in me and works through me. And I just looked at it and I said that and it went away and they never ever came back. And I've never had to deal with them again. And I had them pretty much almost nightly from 13 to 26. So that was a huge part of my experience. I also saw an alternate timeline of my life, which was pretty wild. I didn't really believe in timelines or anything like that. But during these 2 years, I was like just vibrating so high and no one knew I was going through any of this except my stepdad, which he was my mom remarried an indigenous medicine man when I was like 23, 24. And he was really modest about his gifts. He didn't really tell me much about it. But as soon as my spiritual experience started, he started having all these dreams about me. Like he just knew something was going on, but no one in my life knew. He had a dream during this time that I was becoming an angel of God on the earth. And, I was just in grad school. Like I was like basically trying to hide all this and just make it through. I really thought at the end of my experience, I would just go like leave the earth and go live in heaven. That didn't happen. So I actually had to make sense of all of it. So he was one person that knew all this was happening, but really almost no one else knew. And I was just trying to keep it together. So the alternate timeline was really interesting. I really did see that we have different paths we can choose in our lives, and they do spin off different realities. And during this 2 years, I opened up my computer and I was going to write about something else. And I know now I'm supposed to write about this story. I'm supposed to share about this spiritual experience. But I didn't know that. And I was opening my computer to write about like a different book, like unrelated. And as soon as I opened my computer, I saw my whole life play out. Like I lived it as if I were in the movie and watching the movie at the same time. And it was my entire life. It was like, I would publish this book. It would get published to bad reviews. I would feel dejected and depressed. I would never really recover. And it was like, I saw the review, I lived all of that. And then I just like lived a sad and lonely life I just was sitting in a coffee shop and had seen this whole alternate timeline. I thought, okay, I won't do that. And I just closed my computer. I just went and got a pastry. I didn't know what to do. It took me a long time to realize I was supposed to be doing this because, I was a little dense spiritually. Let's see, a few other things happened. I would see auras around trees before they died. I was just seeing I would feel eclipses in my body when like during this 2 years. I don't really know what it was, but I had opened up to this huge level of light, which I'm really hoping many of us are opening to now. And mine just happened. It was 2006 to 2008. And I really hope it was just like a seeding that I can now talk about for people who might be going through something like this. And I didn't die. I was just living my life. I just opened up to like a very high level of love. My experience ended with this beautiful dream of an angel. So at the time, I didn't really ever think it was going to end. I thought it was either I was going to live like that forever, or if it did end, it was because I was learning all this cool stuff and then I was going to get to leave the planet. And really don't know why I thought that. I know it doesn't make any sense rationally, but this experience wasn't really like a rational experience. So the dream was I'm sitting in my room and it's filled with light. And this was the apartment I was living in at the time. And this beautiful person was speaking with me. He was glowing with so much love and just shining all this love on me. And he was saying, like, I was telling him in my dream, life is hard. I don't know why I'm here and I don't know what I'm doing. And he was just shining all this love, saying, like, life is amazing. You need to go out and have a good life. Go have adventures. Go live a great life. Being alive is such a gift. And I just felt all this love come into my heart as we were talking, and my heart just completely opened. And I was like, oh my gosh, who's this guy? Is he going to be my boyfriend? Like, I thought he was like a real person. And I think I was supposed to think that. So I was like, what's your name? He told me his name was Jonathan. So I really did wait for a really long time to meet someone named Jonathan. And I really didn't, not like this angel. Because anyway, he was glowing a lot. And I said, when am I going to meet you? And he said, you'll meet me when you finish swimming. And the dream shifted from me talking to him in my room with a bunch of light to me being like on a huge ship in the ocean at night. And I was just lowered from the ship down into the ocean. And I had to start swimming out alone into the ocean. And this was the dream. This was the most profound, bright dream I've ever had. I woke up the next morning and all the light was gone. So I just suddenly felt so surrounded by all these angels and all this light for these 2 years. And then it was over. And I was just like, my friends at the time, I remember them telling me like I couldn't talk. They were like really worried about me because it felt like I got gut punched and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why I was here. I didn't know if it was real. I didn't know if I made it up. Um, and it was a very long process to accepting my experience and to getting to the point of sharing it because it ended in 2008. I moved back home. Um, I did get some guidance from my stepdad. I did just try to decide, did I just lose my mind or did this really happen? And was this something I should pay attention to? And I eventually really accepted this was a beautiful, heart opening experience. And it really changed my life because it healed me. You know, besides all the cool stuff I talk about, I felt how much God really loves me. I use the word God, but I really am open to whatever people want to say. It's just what I wrote in my journal. So I use that word, but you can use creator or love or whatever. But I felt just like held and cared for and truly healed and just, it's like an experience. It's the experience that changes your life more than like just thinking about it. So that's my whole story.
Rebecca, thank you for sharing your life with us. If we go back to the day when the light first appeared in your room, was
Yeah.
it like an orb kind of flying around your
Interesting.
room, or was your entire room illuminated?
No, it was interesting. That's a great question. It was like a light that was a white light and it went from one end of the room, like, and then over me in the bed. So it didn't take up the whole room, but it was different than just looking at like if someone had turned on the light in the room. It was like this light was seeing me, and that was a visceral experience. It looked like just a light, but it also felt really, really intensely powerful.
You came from a science oriented background. What did you make of it right at the beginning? I
I
mean,
thought I was going schizophrenic, actually.
I was
It
going
was
to
like
say,
a part of me.
were you questioning your sanity?
I was definitely questioning my sanity, but it was like questioning my sanity mentally and then knowing that this experience was changing my heart so deeply at the same time that it was really hard to make sense of. Um, I did something kind of silly. I found a shaman. I Googled shaman New York because I thought, I should go talk to someone about this. And so besides my stepdad who helped me a ton, I Googled shaman New York and I found this shaman I went and talked with while I was in grad school. I wasn't really someone that thought about this kind of stuff, but it was like in my mind, I have this religious background and I have a scientific background, which was the biggest voice in my head because I was raised to be like a really smart person. Like my big voice in my head from my dad as a child was like, don't believe things that don't make sense. Like we're smart people. We believe smart things. But then when you start seeing things, anyway, I found this shaman and I would go the first time I ever went to go see him. Like, he kind of helped me get through grad school. I went and said, like, I think I'm schizophrenic. I saw a light. Um, do I have to drop out of grad school? Because I really thought I was schizophrenic. I was gonna have to. He's like, oh, it's okay. We're all schizophrenic. The whole world is a dream. Um, you'll finish school. And he just made it seem like it was no big deal. Like I was just having this intellectual crisis. And it really helped me. He became almost like an uncle to me while I was in grad school. I would just go see him and he would just help me ground because it is, if anyone has started having any kinds of spiritual experiences like this, it really does help to have someone to talk about it with where you don't feel like you're just, because I mean, in my background, I just thought I hate to use that word, but I really thought I was going crazy. But then it was healing me at such a deep level. So the shaman helped. He was a funny person.
Did they ever tell you, look, we're angels? And if not, how did you come to that decision that that's what they were?
Well, I just, that's a good point. My background, even though skeptical, like I do have the Judeo-Christian background, and it was like I made a promise to God, and then suddenly I felt these loving presences around me. So they felt like loving presences, just that were kind of doing like helping out from my promise, because God is like this big thing, and these were just like, oh, we're right here. So I said angels, but honestly, I know people that are into aliens that would say, oh, those are aliens that were helping you. But all it was is like a vibration of love. So I guess it was like massive love. And that's the feeling. That's why it's really important to know where you are and how you're feeling. Cause it's like when you know that vibration of love. Yeah. I mean, they call themselves angels to me now that I've learned how to reconnect, which is the whole part of long process, but they're angels. To me, they're just like full of light and love. That's all. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying they are. I mean, they are not. I was just,
Yeah. People ask. Yeah.
well, at least they were conscious living entities, right? Do you know how many were with you?
It just felt like I was surrounded by light, and sometimes they would step forward and I would feel like the two, or I would, but it just felt like light all the time. I did see little angels, but mostly I just felt them. But yeah, I feel like it was, if I had to guess, like five, but
Okay.
it could have been 20. It just felt, I feel like they're always around us, but I've heard and I believe that they're not going to mess with our free will. You have to reach out. I reached out in this huge written vow that I didn't really consciously mean to make. And they were like, okay, cool. Like, you ready to do this? We're right here. But otherwise, they were always there. I just didn't call out to them. I didn't even know that I could really. So,
Was there one event that moved you from skeptic to believer?
such a good question, Jeff. And it was really many events over a lot of time because I was a very analytical person and raised to ask questions and to question. So it was not just the actual experience. There was my stepdad giving me this guidance that he was tuned in spiritually to. There was over time just thinking about it and reconnecting. So, and really just saying, like, I think this I think this was real. This was real. And it just took me years to just go back and forth and consider and reflect and dissect. And I've had a few different things that stood out so much that was like, there's no way this couldn't be real. One of them I talk about was that when I got carbon monoxide poisoning, I was basically saved by angels from that. Uh, I had that dream of, people don't really survive carbon monoxide poisoning like often. There was a period when my experience ended and I wasn't sure if it was real that I went and lived in the woods. I couldn't feel the same level that I'd felt during my experience, and I was trying to figure out where it went. I was trying to figure out how to get back to it. It took me many years, but during this period, I was living in the woods, and I had a heater, and I turned it on for like they just replaced it, but it wasn't hooked up to the right kind of gas. And I'd had a dream a few days before this that I was looking in my bathroom mirror. My lungs were bright red in the dream. And then I had to move out of my house really quickly. And so a few days later passed, I turned the heater on, I'm sleeping. And then my alarm goes off really early because I was working at a school. And I felt hands push me out of the bed. Um, it just felt like I was pushed really strongly. And I got up and was running out of my bed, which I've never done. I turned off the heater as I was running. And then when I made it to the bathroom where my dream had happened, I started falling because I had no oxygen in my blood or in my muscles and I couldn't stand. I have a scar on my chin from hitting the bathroom counter. And I like would just crumple and I tried to stand up again and I just fell and I just laid on the ground probably for, I don't know how long, 10 or 20 minutes until I could move and crawl out of the house because I didn't know what had happened. And I drove to the hospital. I called my mom and stepdad. I was freaking out. And I got there and they did my blood oxygen test and they said I was less than a minute from death. So looking, that was an experience that I just took like, I just remember telling my friends, oh yeah, I got carbon monoxide poisoning, but I was fine, but I look back, like now that I'm telling my experience, I'm like, there was something much more going on. Cause I remember being pushed out of my bed and like, how could I have run? It was like, and then I couldn't even stand. That was one thing I think like really did solidify there's more going on. But it really just was years of thinking about it, honestly.
Well, you mentioned that you had an NDE-like experience. Was
Yeah.
was that it due to the carbon monoxide poisoning?
No, it was all of these different things that happened during my 2 years. These were all the different things. It was like I saw the light, I met an angel, like the holy being. Oh, I forgot to even talk about that. I had like a spontaneous life review while I was alive. It was just all of these things were basically that table that says like what happens in a near death experience was like all of these different things. But I did also have a spontaneous life review and I understood viscerally, like I could feel how much my actions were affecting other people because I talked with my sister on the phone and realized that I'd hurt her feelings and didn't know that I had hurt her feelings. And it was almost like I felt all of her emotions. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was affecting people. I didn't know I could even hurt people. I didn't know that I was doing anything like that. And then I was feeling what it meant to be kind. It was, it was a lot. Yeah. But that was it. I mean, I guess the carbon monoxide poisoning, I did almost die, but the different things that happened was the near death like experience was really just having all these spiritual things happen for 2 years and then it ending.
Some of my guests will say that we have guardian angels around us at all times. Do you think that those angels are your guardian angels and they are still around you at all times and now you've kind of somehow learned to reconnect with them?
Yes, I do think that. And it was so, yes, I think we do have angels and guardian angels around us at all times. And I've thought about this because, angels are messengers and we have the creator, but we're not able to just all the time. I mean, you can, but they're closer to us. They're more like easier to communicate with. They're connected to the creator. But yes, once my experience ended, they stepped back so strongly. Like I had been told I needed to learn how to swim, which I now believe was a metaphor for learning how to be a spiritual person in the real world. But they were like not letting me feel them. I really wanted to feel them. And I would just cry and I'd be like, God, where are you? Angels, where are you? Where did you go? Why'd you leave me here? And I remember holding my hand out and I'd feel them hold my hand, but it wasn't as loud as it was before. And it took me years I started journaling again. That's how I started reconnecting, because they don't want to live your life for you. I was trying to just only be with the angels and with God and just let them, I just wanted to be away. I was basically escaping my real life. I had to learn that I need to be an equal partner. I need to do my own practices and connect. And as painful as it was to go through this time when I felt like they weren't there, I learned how to connect in a very like linear, understandable way, feel that same vibration and then share. And it all had a purpose because now I do sessions for people, sacred soul sessions. I tune in and receive messages and I share those messages every day on my social media, Monday through Friday. It's just that same vibration of love. But it was like it was like baby steps and it was like tuning back into that and over time, but also not trying to escape. But yeah, they're definitely around all of us. You really do need to call out and they're there to help, but they're not there. They're not going to live your life for you.
Many people want to contact their guardian angels but are not successful.
Mm.
Why is it, in your opinion, and what do they need to do to connect?
I really think for me, the reason why my experience got so big that was through the heart. If you're trying to connect through your mind only, uh, it can be very confusing. So I would just get really still and connect through the heart. It really is that still small voice. It really does feel like love. And you really need to get to know what love feels like, what you feel like. And then you can really trust. Um, but they definitely want to help you. They want to feel like, and they will communicate in a way that makes sense to you. So some people like to receive signs. I'd like to do a lot of writing because that's how my experience started. Um, but it is a muscle and you do need to build it over time. I am teaching a class about this in August. If you go on my website, you can find it. It's angel communication. There's just certain ways that I think we can build the muscle. It's like working out. And a lot of us have had our spiritual muscles dulled through being human. But this is an exciting time, I think, to wake those muscles back up.
You mentioned that you have psychic dreams. What are the differences between those and regular dreams, and how does
Yeah.
one tell the difference?
Such a good question. Love your questions. Okay. So for a long time, I didn't really know they were psychic. I would just be like, oh my God, I just dreamt this. What's happening? But now I've learned over time thinking about all this. The dreams usually, it's almost like there's a spotlight behind them and they're just a lot brighter. And I have basically a couple different categories. Some of them will be about events that are coming in my life. I've had maybe one about a collective event, but and those are the ones where you're just watching and like the car accident, it's so calm. I'm just watching it. And actually every psychic dream, it's so interesting. You're watching from the soul level and there's no stress. But then the car accident happens in real life and it's like stress. I'm crying. I'm like, it's dramatic. But in the dream, it was just like, oh, okay, there's the car in the ditch. So there's just a lot more light. They feel really peaceful and they feel like almost like very still and calm. And then the other kind of dreams I'll have are with other people, where my friends or other people come and tell me different things in my dream that they're dealing with, or that are going to happen in my friend group, and they're just brighter and they just feel different. Because I have normal dreams too. I definitely have regular dreams where I'm doing weird stuff, but my psychic dreams are, pretty consistent, and I can pray for guidance in my dreams. Like my stepdad taught me, my stepdad did that too. And it really does help. I get guidance about like relationships and about like my journey, like, but I don't always get guidance, I guess, about stuff I'm not supposed to get guidance about, like what should I eat for dinner. They don't tell me stuff like that, I guess.
Do you think that after all these things that have happened to you, you gained any other abilities besides reconnecting?
um, That's a really good question. I do. My main abilities are having built these muscles over time and knowing what my experience, like I had that reference point. So it's the connecting to the angels and doing messages for people, the sacred soul sessions. I think, one of the abilities I have, which I wouldn't call really an ability, it's not that special, but I see the love and the light in everyone. And that's a gift, because having I work with children in my regular job, kids going through all kinds of things, and just being able to see past the pain of anybody, any human, and just see where the core of love is in them has been something that's, I think, really transformative, for people I work with, and just for me to get to see these beautiful souls that are in people. I did have some things that would happen, like I would suddenly be in places where I needed to like help someone that was going to commit suicide, and I was able to talk with them and make sure that they were still here. I was just very guided towards this. Right after my experience, it was like I was put in these certain places to help different people, but that's basically it. It's basically just connecting, and the sacred soul sessions. I do feel like I can communicate, I feel the energy of things like in the world, but I don't know. It really is just getting to see like a little bit beyond the veil. Like there's just a ton of light here. And when we tune into it, it's like so beautiful. And I get to still see glimpses of that, which is really my favorite gift.
Do you feel that this experience with the angels opened you up? And if so, and what I mean by that is kind of like opened up your awareness. And if so, have you experienced anything else that, for most people may be way out there, like seeing other entities or aliens or anything?
Well, I've had a few different experiences adjacent to the spiritual experience where okay, for example, when my experience ended, a lot of people at the end of their near death experiences, they get these like future glimpses of what's going to happen. And it was a really it was a download. And I was awakened in the middle of the night. This was right after my experience ended. And I was still like really vibrating high, and I wasn't sure where I was anymore. But I remember this, I was awakened and could feel this feeling pressing down on me when I was awakened. And, it felt like the sacredness of all of human life, and was showing me the entire planet. So I've had a few different experience. Like one of this download and one was a dream where I can just see the entire planet and how beautiful everyone is on it. Just and how sacred human life was. And they were like in this download, it was just like I could see everyone around the whole globe going to their jobs, doing these things, going to the market, and how sacred and beautiful it all was. And they were showing, I don't know what it was, but as I felt all this love and this really like almost deep sacredness, I was being shown that all of these people we were all going off a cliff, like as humanity. I didn't know what that cliff was. I just remember saying to that experience that love is all there is, and then it stopped. But the cliff seemed like, I wonder, is it right now? I mean, this download happened in 2008, but it's like we're all being asked to, I think, transform, because we're going through like a big change. Um, I did have another dream a couple months ago that I've been talking about this one a little more. And then I'll tell you one weird thing that happened to me when I was 21, before all my spiritual experiences. But so this dream and this past spring is another transition dream because, I had this download that we're like all going off a cliff, whatever that means. And I had this dream about humanity being in a crosswalk. So it was like, here's one curb, and we're walking across a crosswalk as humanity. But at the end of this crosswalk I know it sounds kind of weird. I'll explain the whole thing. At the end of this crosswalk is this beautiful palace filled with rainbow light. And no, I wasn't on any like psychedelics. I was just dreaming. It was one of my bright dreams. And there was like the unpainted section of the crosswalk, the painted section of the crosswalk, the unpainted section, the painted section. And each section was like symbolic. And I could look inside the unpainted section, the first unpainted section. I remember looking in and seeing economic changes. It was like I could look into this crosswalk section and see the entire globe again, all the people on it, what's happening. Oh my goodness, economic changes. And I saw the stock market dropping, and I saw it dropping again. And that was around the time our stock market had dropped a lot. I can't remember if that was maybe April. I can't remember. And then in the painted space after it, I could look and see, and I was shown the best path for humanity, how we could deal with whatever this unpainted change was. And I was shown the whole globe again, and I was shown all these people holding hands across the entire planet, like reaching out across differences, helping each other. And it wasn't like everyone was going to do that, but I could see this overlay of all these people connecting and that's how we would make it through whatever the challenge. And so that was one section. And then the next unpainted section, I saw another Earth challenge, and it was very intense. I remember looking at it really deeply and thinking, I'll remember this. Wow. I remember being shown the whole planet, what's going on. And then again, in the painted space after, I was shown how everybody just needed to come together. We could all come together and help each other. We're going to make it through whatever these challenges were. So I was able to see two more challenges in these where I could look in the unpainted space. I don't remember that. I hate to tease you with that, but I woke up and didn't remember a thing about what I intently looked at. It was definitely like upheaval type of things, like wars or something intense, but I was shown we were always able to deal with it by helping each other out, by coming together, by being kind. And then at the end of the crosswalk, I entered into that palace and was filled with this beautiful, beautiful light. And then I got left and went and stood by the crosswalk to help humanity cross these challenges. So that was kind of like another one of my big, profound dreams, which I don't have a ton about the planet, but that one was really, all it showed me was we just need to help each other. Okay. So this is the weird thing that happened when I was 21. And this, I really did just think I was making something very weird up. And this is very small, but it was my 21st birthday. I was interning in DC at the time. And someone walked up to me, and I didn't have anything that it was my birthday. I didn't have a name tag on. And this guy walks up to me and he says, "Happy birthday, Rebecca." And I was like, how do you know it's my birthday? How do you know my name? And he's like, "I come from out there. Things are going to get easier soon." I was like, okay. So that was the closest thing I had to someone coming out from somewhere else and telling me it was going to get easier. I always remember that. And I just remember being very touchy because I just thought I was schizophrenic. And then, you start getting in this world of spirituality, and you're like, okay, maybe that was actually someone from out there telling me things were going to get better. It's a wild world, Jeff. What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah. I was at first thinking maybe one of the angels took a physical form, but then I remembered, well, you hadn't met the angels yet. But
No.
But now that I think about it, it still could have been one of the angels taking a physical form.
I think so. And it's funny because, you see people talking to themselves on the subway, and I was like, was it just like one of those, was that one of me? Was that what I was doing? But no, I think that's probably what happened because, I really almost thought nothing about it until my spiritual experience. And I was like, oh, but I had been having a hard time. And I think that was just a little hang on. Like we all get these little hang on moments. They might be someone coming up to you and saying something like that, or it might be seeing a feather or feeling peaceful. So that was one of my, hang on moments before my spiritual experience started. And then I realized there's a lot more going on.
Would I be able to get you on the record for saying that angels definitely are real?
I mean, sorry to my like skeptical friends and family, but yeah, they are. I think so. I'll say that on the record. I do believe it. They're not real in physical form as often. What's real is really can be very subjective, but they're energetically real. How's that?
Okay. You're reconnecting with the angels pretty often. Have they ever given you a message for humanity?
Yeah, basically, a lot of the messages I've been getting lately, you know, within the spiritual community, a lot of people are talking about a great awakening. And the message I've been getting about that is really just that this awakening happens in each individual heart. So it's really fun and interesting to think about a global level, but I've been told it's going to be really hard to understand until we're looking back on it. The main thing each one of us needs to do as part of this whole is do your spiritual work. You don't have to call it work. It can be fun too. Any work you're doing, if you're watching this, keep doing it, keep loving. It's really a huge part of our world, even if no one else can really tell.
Well, if people want to find out more about what you're up to, what is
Yeah.
your website?
It's just my name, RebeccaKastl.com. I have, I do sessions. I would love to see you for a session. I teach little workshops. I'll be at IONS in Chicago, International Association for Near-Death Studies. Love to see you there. RebeccaKastl.com.
You also have a YouTube channel, right?
Yes, I'm building. I do weekly, Thursday I talk about my spiritual journey and things I've learned being kind of bad at spirituality. And then Sundays I do messages I receive from angels. So yeah.
All right.
And that's Rebecca Kastl too.
If people want to contact you, should they use your website or leave a comment on a video?
You can do either one. I have a contact me form that I read, and I will, if I don't get back to you right away, I will get back to you as soon as I can. And yeah, you can contact me through my website or comment. I love to give the people I've gotten to know through being public about my spiritual journey have been like so amazing that it keeps me going. So if you want to be part of my little family, come join.
Before we wrap it up, can you
Yeah.
leave us with a last positive message?
Your heart matters. Your life matters. You are seen by the Creator in more ways than you can even imagine. So if you're like feeling hopeless or you're not sure if anyone cares, I can promise you there's just the Creator cares about you, and you can reach out to your angels, to God, the Creator, and just don't give up. I hope that's helpful and hopeful, because that's what my experience showed me.
Rebecca, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. You're awesome.
So are you. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.